They said Christmas was canceled. Too broke for a big gathering. It was mid-December, and the streets of Maplewood were already dusted with snow, twinkling under string lights that stores had half-heartedly hung up. The town looked festive, but inside most homes, the spirit was flickering like a bulb that wouldn't quite light. In the Martinez household, the declaration came during dinner. No big gathering this year, Mom said, stirring instant mashed potatoes like they were gold. We just can't swing it. Not after the furnace repairs and your dad's hours getting cut. The kids froze. Maya, 11, with her fork midair, and Jordan, 14, slumped in his chair. Grandma stopped chewing. Even the dog seemed to understand something heavy had been said. But it's Christmas, Maya said quietly. I know, baby. The Martinez family wasn't alone. Across town, similar conversations played out. Families choosing between rent and gifts, between heating the house or feeding extra mouths. The community center had already posted a notice. No holiday bash this year. See you in January. That should have been the end of it. A quiet, small Christmas. Maybe a microwave dinner and a movie. But Maya wasn't having it. They said it's canceled, she whispered to Jordan that night, huddled in their room. But Christmas doesn't have to be big to be real. He rolled over, sighing. What? You want to fix Christmas now? Yeah, she said. Exactly that. Over the next week, Maya launched Operation Save Christmas. She started with a hand-drawn flyer, misspelled but sincere. Christmas is knockin' sled. Meet at the park. Bring what you got. Share what you can. We'll make it work. She and Jordan slipped the flyers into mailboxes, taped them to lampposts, even tucked one under the door at the Shutter Community Center. On Christmas Eve, the park was quiet first. Just Maya, Jordan, a thermos of cocoa, and a folding table covered with a red checkered cloth. But then came Mr. Liu, the retired carpenter, carrying a bundle of firewood and a smile. Then Mrs. Green with a tray of cookies that had seen better days but smelled like heaven. A few teens showed up with a Bluetooth speaker. Someone dragged over a folding chair, then another, then a crate turned upside down to sit on. Little by little, the canceled Christmas began to breathe. No one brought much, but everyone brought something. Scars were shared, stories swapped, leftover casseroles spooned out like delicacies. Kids played with old board games dug out of closets. And when the snow began to fall again, soft and glittering the glow of a single lantern someone had set on the table, the crowd sang Silent Night together, voices wobbly but warm. Maya looked around, at her family laughing with strangers, at neighbors they barely knew sharing a single packet of marshmallows like it was gold, and felt a quiet pride swell in her chest. Christmas hadn't been canceled. It had just been rerouted, and somehow, in its smallness, it felt bigger than ever. The singing drifted into quiet murmurs as people huddled closer around the fire Mr. Liu had built in an old metal barrel. Someone passed around mismatched mugs, and kids took turns roasting bits of bread on sticks like they were marshmallows. Laughter rang out when one caught fire. The charred crust still declared pretty good by a delighted 5-year-old. Jordan nudged Maya. Okay, I'll admit, he said. You were right. This doesn't suck. She smirked, but her eyes stayed on the crowd. I just didn't want to feel like we gave up. They watched as their mom chatted with the woman from down the hall they usually just nodded at in the stairwell. Dad was laughing with a grocery store clerk who'd apparently brought homemade tamales in a repurposed shoebox. Everyone here had been struggling, but nobody seemed broken tonight. Then came the surprise. A car rolled up, slow and cautious on the icy road. Out stepped Pastor Dave from the local church, holding a guitar case and a grocery bag full of canned peaches. Behind him, more cars parked. People who'd seen the flyer or heard about something happening in the park from a neighbor. Some brought food, others blankets. One woman arrived carrying an entire folding table and a bag of tea lights. They lit them in jars, and suddenly the park glowed. That's when Maya saw it. Not just people surviving the season, but claiming it, redefining it. No price tag, no tree overloaded with gifts. Just warmth, music, laughter. It was imperfect, scrappy, but it was theirs. Later, as the night deepened and people began packing up, promising to do this again even next year. Maya stood beside her parents, watching the last of the crowd trickle away under falling snow. "You know," Mom said, wrapping an arm around her shoulders, "I think this was the best Christmas we've had in years." Dad nodded, quiet for a moment. Maybe being broke just forced us to find what we never would have looked for otherwise. And Maya, tired, cold, but glowing inside, felt that was exactly right. They had been told Christmas was canceled, but they had decided otherwise. And it turned out that decision made all the difference. The next morning, Christmas Day, dawned softly over Maplewood. The snow from the night before blanketed everything in a clean, white hush. Maya woke up to the sound of sizzling, not from a fancy breakfast, but from her dad trying to stretch 3 eggs and the last of the milk into pancakes. Still, the smell was warm and good in the house, though not full of presents or noise, felt different, like something had settled in during the night, a quiet kind of joy. She padded into the living room in her socks. The tree was still their makeshift stack of books with a string of lights wrapped around it, but someone had placed a single envelope underneath it. Her name was scribbled on the front. Maya blinked and opened it. Inside was a folded paper and a note. "Dear Maya, thanks for reminding us what Christmas really means. We found this tucked into the community center mailbox this morning. Figured it belonged to you. Pastor Dave." She unfolded the paper. It was one of her original flyers, the crayon one she thought had blown away in the wind. But scrawled across the bottom, in different colored inks, were notes. "Thank you. My kids smiled last night. First time I sang in years. Forgot how much I missed it. You made this holiday feel like home again. Not canceled after all." Maya sat down on the couch, pressing the note to her chest. Jordan came in with a mug of hot chocolate, setting it down next to her, without a word. He saw the flyer and grinned. "I told you," she said. "Christmas isn't about what we don't have." He rolled his eyes. "Okay, fine. You're officially annoying and right." A knock came at the door. It was Mrs. Green from the park. She held a plate of cinnamon rolls. "Too many for just me," she said. "Merry Christmas, darlings." Behind her, more neighbors appeared, one after another, carrying leftovers, little handmade cards, old books wrapped in newspaper, gifts of time, thought, and presents. The small apartment filled with chatter, and chairs dragged from every corner. The living room overflowed with warmth not from expensive heaters, but from shared space and stories. The spirit of the park, the one they created with cocoa and cardboard signs, had followed them home. It wasn't just a gathering anymore. It was a movement, a quiet rebellion against the idea that joy belonged only to those who could afford it. Later that night, as Maya curled under a blanket with a cup of tea someone had gifted her, she wrote 3 words at the top of a fresh piece of paper. Because now she knew Christmas didn't need saving. It just needed people who believed in it, especially when it seemed like no one else did. Here's a more interesting and emotionally satisfying ending that ties the story together with a touch of surprise, growth, and hope. Later that night, just as the last guest left and the apartment had quieted down again, Maya slipped out onto the small balcony, bundled in her oversized coat. The night was cold, but clear, stars shimmering like tiny bells in the sky. She looked out at the rooftops of Maplewood, at the dim windows, the flickers of holiday lights that had survived December's doubts. She held the flyer again, the one covered in notes of gratitude, and smiled. Behind her, the sliding door creaked open. Jordan stepped out, holding a box wrapped in brown paper and tied with a shoelace. "What's that?" she asked. He handed it to her awkwardly, cheeks red not from the cold. I traded my old headphones to Mrs. Green's grandson. He makes stuff. Open it." Maya peeled it open. Inside was a hand-carved wooden ornament, a star, with the words, "You started something," etched in the center. Her throat tightened. "I figured," Jordan looked away, "you might want to keep it for next year, or the year after that, or, I don't know, forever." Maya held it like it was made of glass. "Thank you," she whispered. Jordan shrugged. "Still think Christmas should be canceled?" Maya laughed. "Nah, but I think maybe the old version can be." He smirked. You're going to be insufferable about this for the rest of your life, aren't you? Absolutely. They stood there for a while, quiet. Then, across the street, something caught Maya's eye. In the window of the shuttered community center, a light flickered on, and then a piece of paper was taped to the glass. They squinted. Even from a distance, they could just make out the message. Next year, let's do it together. The town of Maplewood. Maya's eyes widened. Jordan let out a low whistle. Guess this thing's getting bigger. Maya turned to him, her eyes gleaming with purpose. No, she said, holding the ornament tight. It's just getting started. And behind them, inside their humble apartment, the lights of a new kind of Christmas glowed brighter than ever. The end. Or maybe just the beginning